good, everybody? It's your boy Days, back again with another video. Welcome back to Days Reacts. So today we are doing a video, the evolution of every NFL teams, every stadium, NFL explained. So yes, basically this is a video talking about every NFL stadium known to mankind right now, as of now. I know this video is kind of old because we getting new stadiums into play right now, but I think this goes up all the way to, I believe, SoFi Stadium. So I think that's about it. We have not gotten the Buffalo Bills new stadium or the Tennessee Titans new stadium. So just be aware of that. Of this video, because this video was made earlier, you know what I'm saying? But this video is going to be Shinako. It's going to be educational wise, and also we're going to break this video up in two parts. So if you want to learn about the NFL stadiums and the NFL history, please join this video, okay? And also please like, comment, subscribe down below. And also it's right here. Yeah, the subscribe button is right here. Okay. And yeah, let's get into this video. It is showtime.
Only 2 NFL teams are playing in their original stadiums. Only 2 stadiums are named after a person. And 1 team's home stadium has gone through 10 different names. It's time for NFL Explained, History of NFL Stadiums. The 2020 season saw the NFL welcome 2 of the most expensive, high-tech stadiums the league has ever seen.
It's like Tomorrowland when you show up at Disney.
But for every stadium that's gone up, there are countless that have come down. The venues teams call home have been hit by planes, as well as massive snowstorms. They are stories you simply can't make up. And if you want, you can jump to your team's story, where you'll see all the different stadiums your team has called home throughout its history. But the story of NFL stadiums officially began at a park in the Midwest back in 1920 in Dayton, Ohio, at Dayton's Triangle Park. This is the site of the very first game between 2 NFL teams, the league at the time known as the APFA.
The Dayton Triangles on October 3rd, 1920, hosted the Columbus Panhandles at Triangle Park. There was no fencing around the stadium, so it was hard to control whether paying customers were coming to the field or not.
Now, the Triangles and Panhandles didn't last, but 2 others from the league's rookie season did. The Chicago Bears, known originally as the Decatur Staleys, played that 1920 season at Staley Field. The A.E. Staley Starch Manufacturing Company sponsored the team and had a field on its campus. So that makes it the first NFL stadium or field ever to be named after a sponsor company. But a year later, player-owner George Halas moved them to the big city and into one of the most iconic stadiums in all of sports, Wrigley Field.
Mr. Staley gave Coach Halas $5,000 and said, take them, they're yours. Take them to Chicago, which is a big enough market.
So I did not even know that. Excuse me, y'all. Eating. Sorry, y'all. I'm eating. But I didn't even know that Chicago Bears was the first NFL team ever existed. I didn't even know that. I usually thought it was the Green Bay Packers because they won the first Super Bowl. But I'm learning history about the NFL and stuff. But yeah, that's educational history right there. I really did not know Chicago Bears. I knew they had the oldest NFL stadium, Soldier Field, but I didn't know like they was actually the first team and stuff. So, but yeah, that's real educational.
To support them.
Best stories about their days there, how they had to add padding to the brick walls. Guys like Bronco Nagurski actually running into them on occasion.
Then that crack is still there.
Ultimately, though, Wrigley wasn't big enough by NFL standards, so the Bears would move into a new den, Soldier Field.
It has all the splendor and spectacle of ancient Rome. Soldier Field on Chicago's lakefront. the combat arena for the modern gladiators of the Chicago Bears.
Soldier Field was known as Municipal Grant Park Stadium when it was opened in 1924. It was renamed Soldier Field in 1925 to honor servicemen and women from World War I. It's undergone several makeovers since the Bears moved in. The biggest forced Chicago to play their home games elsewhere for one season, University of Illinois Memorial Stadium, their temporary landing spot, which they borrowed in 2002, before returning to their old digs in 2003.
In their newly renovated stadium, Chicago had quite the home field advantage. The Bears finished 6-2 at Soldier Field and captured their first win against the AFC champion Oakland Raiders.
New Soldier Field, as some call it, was built within the shell of the old one. They did preserve the colonnades and the 250-foot granite wall memorial sculpture. Aside from that, though, most everything else is pretty much new, including the statues out front of Sweetness, a.k.a. Walter Payton, and Papa Bear, George Halas. The stadium holds 61,000 fans, the smallest of any stadium in the league. But you'll still hear plenty of "bear down" cries at games, the team's motto, and its fight song.
You're the pride and joy of Illinois, Chicago Bears, bear down, yeah!
If you consider the new Soldier Field to be nothing more than a remodeled version of the old one, then you're looking at the...
Hold on, y'all. All right. How you get one of those cookies? Okay. This is gonna stay in the video, y'all. So sorry, but this is gonna stay in the video. All right. Let's get back into it. It is showtime.
The oldest stadium in the NFL. The only other team to stick around since 1920, the Cardinals. For their first two seasons in the league, their home games were at Normal Park in Chicago. After that,
Wow. So basically, I did not know that the Cardinals, I thought they were just mainly from St. Louis, but I didn't know they started in Chicago. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Arizona Cardinals. That's a lot. That's some major history right there. Wow.
it was off to Comiskey Park, where they would eventually win their first NFL championship. That's right, a lot of fans don't realize the Cardinals are two-time champs, winning both of their titles while playing at Comiskey.
And that's crazy. If they two-time NFL champions, they should recognize that. I mean, this is at the time where, like, it was NFL and AFL, but, like, it's still recognized. Like, even though it's not Super Bowl recognized, it's still recognized. So I guess they count them as, like, the NFC championships. So, wow.
Their first in 1925, and then once more in 1947.
The Chicago Cardinals, winners of the Western Division, meet the Philadelphia Eagles, Eastern title holders. And here's Charlie Trippi on a 75-yard run for a touchdown. Watch him go, and what a run, the longest of the game.
Okay, buckle up, because these birds did some serious flying around back in their day. After the 1925 season, they were back at Normal Park until 1928. Then back to Comiskey for the 1929 and 1930 seasons. From there, it was Wrigley Field from 1931 to 1939, followed by their third and final stint at Comiskey, a stint that lasted 20 seasons, though in between, they actually played a few home games in Pittsburgh, of all places, World War II forcing a merger between the two teams.
I heard about Carr Pitt. I did heard about Carr Pitt and stuff. But so most of the NFL games played in MLB stadiums. I'm learning this.
Teams in 1944.
They lost every game that season. So while they were referred to as the Pitt Card franchise, most people in that era inverted the name and called them the Carpets because they got walked on all season long.
Fast forward to 1959, though, the Cardinals were again looking for a new home, the league hoping to move them to a new state, as they had become Chicago's other team. For the 1959 season, they split time between two spots, Soldier Field, where they played 4 games, and because the NFL had interest in putting a team in Minnesota, they played 2 games at Metropolitan Stadium, but at the end of the season, it was time for a major change of scenery. They were off to St. Louis, their new nest, Busch Stadium.
And that's crazy. You see how Busch Stadium was? But at that time, that's Polo Grounds. But wow. That was a real nice looking how they made it.
The St. Louis Cardinals in dark shirts score first against the Giants as King Hill, number 12, hits number 44, John Crow, in the end zone.
Bro, look at that. That's Polo Grounds, but that was Busch Stadium. That was Busch Stadium, not Busch Memorial. That's the first actual Busch Stadium. That's crazy. In St. Louis.
Busch Stadium, also known as Sportsman's Park, the Gridbirds, as they were known, played there from 1960 to 1965. Along came 1966, and Busch Stadium was demolished. Busch Memorial Stadium, though, was ready for occupancy.
Rising in gleaming splendor on the banks of the Mississippi, part of the new St. Louis, is the magnificent Civic Center Stadium, home of the football Cardinals for 1966.
The Cardinals persuaded the city to build Busch Memorial in part by threatening to fly off to Atlanta. Big Red ended up playing there until 1988. That's when
I'm still trying to figure out why they moved to Arizona. That's the real key. Let's go back into
Stadium was demolished. Busch Memorial Stadium, though, was ready for occupancy.
Rising in gleaming splendor on the banks of the Mississippi, part of the new St. Louis, is the magnificent Civic Center Stadium, home of the football Cardinals for 1966.
The Cardinals persuaded the city to build Busch Memorial in part by threatening to fly off to Atlanta. Big Red ended up playing there until 1988. That's when they headed out west to the desert, first going.
So you threatened them to build Busch Memorial. You got what you wanted, and then you decided to move. So I'm trying to figure out what was the. I probably need to ask my one of my friends on this. What was the point of the Cardinals of the NFL moved from St. Louis to Arizona? What was the purpose of that? We already know the Rams situation, but what was the purpose of this move? This move need to be taught and stuff.
Going by the Phoenix Cardinals and playing in Sun Devil Stadium from 1988 to 2005.
Well, I feel just like a child. From my womb to my tomb, I guess I'll always be a child.
PlayStation. Start PlayStation.
I'm an overpowered leaf blower.
And if you don't have the right auto covers, this could really blow your budget.
In week 2 for the first official NFL game of the Valley of the Sun, a sellout crowd welcomed the Cardinals and Monday Night Football to Sun Devil Stadium.
The Cardinals spent 18 years at ASU Stadium, the longest any NFL team has ever played at a college venue. Finally, in 2006, it was time to move into State Farm Stadium, a.k.a. the Big Toaster.
The Arizona Cardinals set a franchise record for single-season attendance.
Our fans responded by selling out the stadium. Most of the games are sold out in about 6 minutes.
The exterior, designed to resemble a barrel cactus, just look really hard. But what really makes the stadium unique was what you'll find on the inside. They built the first fully retractable field in North America. The grass playing field can be rolled outside to get sunlight and then rolled back in for games. They also have a memorial to Pat Tillman. That's a must-see. Now, most of Arizona's past homes have been demolished. Normal Park is long gone. Busch Stadium was taken down in 1966, the site now home to a Boys and Girls Club. Comiskey Park was demolished in 1991 and is now a parking lot, common transformation for a lot of old stadiums. And Busch Memorial was raised in 2005. They were going to implode it originally, but they had to use a good old-fashioned wrecking ball instead for fear of damaging a nearby subway system.
In small towns throughout America, pro teams sprang up, prospered briefly, and died. But in one, the team survived. In Green Bay, Wisconsin.
The Packers joined the league in 1921, kicking things off at Hagermeister Park, which they played at for their first 2 years in the league. The park was owned by Hagermeister Brewery, who weren't overly worried whether every fan paid to see them play.
They would dub a journalist or somebody that had some affiliation with the team to walk around and pass the hat to collect money from the fans to pay the players.
But the stadium was torn down for a high school, so the Pack was on the move. Next stop, Bellevue Park. Bellevue Park was a small minor league baseball stadium, but they actually used the same lumber from Hagermeister to build it. After just 2 seasons there, the Packers were ready to move again, this time into City Stadium to begin the 1925 season. City Stadium is historic because it was the first stadium ever built specifically for the purposes of watching professional football.
It was specifically built to house the Green Bay Packers.
I hope it still stands on the cool, because that's history.
They would actually, there was a high school nearby, dress in the high school.
The Packers played there for 28 years, but in between, they played a few games around the state to try and attract more fans. They played 1 game at Borchard Field in 1933, and between 1934 and 1951, they played a number of games at Wisconsin State Fair Park. Their roadshow in 1952 saw them play a game at Marquette Stadium, and from 1953 to 1994, they made regular trips to play in Milwaukee County Stadium. All those, however, just appetizers for New City Stadium, which we all know today as Lambeau Field.
Lambeau.
Football is a way of life in Green Bay. There is never an empty seat in Lambeau Stadium. The only way anyone gets to see a game is by buying a season ticket.
Goodness, I haven't missed a game in 15 years.
The stadium wasn't named Lambeau until 1965, following the death of the team's original owner, Curly Lambeau. Lambeau Field is the longest continuously occupied stadium in the NFL by 15 years. And in all of sports, only the Red Sox and Cubs have played in their homes longer than the Packers. The Titletown USA nickname started in the 60s, no shock. They've won a lot of titles in that decade.
The thermometer stands at 19 degrees, but championship fever has things heated up in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
The field itself, meantime, is often referred to as the Frozen Tundra, the moniker first being used by Steve Sable in an NFL Films video.
Thanks to a marvelous job by the groundsmen, the field will be hard, but not completely frozen.
There are the cheeseheads, of course. The guy that invented the foam, Ralph Bruno. He made the first one using foam from his mom's couch. You've got the Lambeau Leap, of course, a tradition Leroy Butler is credited for starting in 1993.
Knocked down at the 38-yard line. A fumble. Tackle. Do the Packers have the ball? Apparently they do.
And they're going to give it to
Leroy Butler goes to the touchdown. It is a touchdown for Leroy Butler.
Oh, what a play for the Pack.
And then there's the Packers fight song. Or Go You Packers Go, as it was originally titled. It was first played at a Packers game in 1931 by the Lumberjacks and is the first fight song ever written for a professional football team. The next NFL club to come along that would stick, the New York Giants, who joined the league in 1925 using an iconic stadium in its own right, the Polo Grounds.
Yep,
The Polo Grounds the Giants used for 30 seasons was the third incarnation.
This is the real Polo Grounds. I know the other one was Sportsman's Park in St. Louis, but this was the original Polo Grounds right here.
Nation of the stadium. The original was opened in 1876 and built in an area of Central Park known for holding polo matches, thus the name. Probably the most famous game the Giants ever played there, the 1934 title game, which has earned the nickname the Sneaker Game. The field at the Polo Grounds was frozen. The Giants were losing at halftime.
Ray Flaherty was our assistant coach. He said one year at Gonzaga, we won a game by using basketball shoes on the field, on a frozen field just like this. He volunteered to go up to Manhattan College and get the basketball shoes for the basketball team.
The Bears spent the rest of the afternoon fruitlessly chasing the sneaker-clad Giants.
As the 50s rolled around, the NFL was gaining popularity. The Giants needed more room, so they upgraded from one famous baseball stadium to another. moving into Yankee Stadium.
'Tis the season of tangy barbecue sauce, pork, onion, pickles on home-style buns. It's that time of year. It could only mean one thing. McRib is here.
Ray, I know, Ray, you need some ad blockers. I know I do. I know I do.
It's only a kick.
The Giants played at Yankee Stadium up until 1973.
In the 17 years they played in the famed ballpark, the Giants fielded some great teams and some great players. They gave their fans 6 championships and many lasting memories.
They also gave their fans what's been called the greatest NFL game ever played, even if the home team took the loss in that game.
Ellen Amici dives through a huge hole, and the game is over. The Baltimore Colts win a historic overtime victory.
It was the first sudden death overtime postseason game in NFL history and really captured the hearts and the attention of the American public.
The Giants had a new pad in the works when the 70s came knocking, but it wasn't ready on time. So they spent 2 seasons at the Yale Bowl in Connecticut. The Yale Bowl, 1974, the Jets beat the Giants in a game in overtime.
With one flick of his wrist, Joe Namath won the championship of New York. The Jets, not the Giants, were the victors in the first sudden death overtime to be decided under the league's new rules.
Before that, regular season games that ended in ties stayed that way. From there, it was off to Shea Stadium for the 1975 season, which was a busy place that year. They shared Shea with the Mets, Yankees, and Jets. 3 might be company, but 4 is a crowd. So in 1976, they moved out to East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Welcome to Giant Stadium. The escalator immediately in front of you will take you to the upper level. Please watch your step and enjoy the game.
The soaring concrete and steel structure, only 6.5 miles from the heart of mid-Manhattan, is considered by the Giants to be the finest football facility in the world.
The Swamp, home of Bill Parcells, Lawrence Taylor, and Jimmy Hoffa. That's the legend anyway, that the legendary Union boss was buried there. They played at Giant Stadium until 2009, and then it was finally time to make the move to MetLife.
They got it all. They got the shrimp. They got seafood salad, crab legs. They got lobster. The one thing the New York Giants need to do today is establish this new place as Giants' new home.
Capacity of 82,500. That makes it the largest stadium in the NFL. Because it's the Jets' home as well, pretty much everything is customizable, including the end zone turf, which is removable, first of its kind. As for their old stomping grounds, 4 of the 6 stadiums they have played at have been demolished. The Polo Grounds biting the dust in 1964, Shea Stadium being taken down in 2009, Yankee Stadium was taken down the following year, and so was Giants Stadium, demolition work being completed just before the Giants would make their debut at their new home.
The city is Detroit, but they come from all of Michigan. The Detroit Lions has reflected the character of the area, giving its supporters nothing less than total dedication to achievement.
The Detroit Lions. They first started playing in the NFL in 1930 as the Spartans, and they started out playing in Universal Stadium in Portsmouth, Ohio. Universal was renamed Spartan Municipal Stadium in 1970, and it's still standing today as it was designated a state historical site in 2003. But the Spartans were eventually bought out by George Richards for $8,000. He moved them to Detroit in 1934, renamed them the Lions, and first set them up to play at University of Detroit Stadium. Their stay at Detroit Stadium only lasted 4 years, but it was there the Lions played their very first Thanksgiving Day game. But come 1938, the Lions were moving on up to Briggs Stadium, which eventually became known as Tiger Stadium. The Lions spent over 35 years at Tiger Stadium, their very last game played there on Thanksgiving.
Tiger Stadium was the mecca of Detroit sports. It was a blue-collar stadium, built a long time ago. Lions games back in Tiger Stadium were great because the stadium really wasn't configured for football that much, so it had its own character.
The city of Pontiac had been making a pitch to build Detroit a new stadium in the early 70s, and by 1975, it was ready for business.
The massive sports facility would offer a futuristic new backdrop for a young Lions squad whose goal in 1975 would be one of establishing a foundation for tomorrow.
The Silverdome. It featured a fiberglass fabric roof that was held up by air pressure. The first time that technology was used in a...
Everybody remember the Silverdome. You already know what happened during that time period.
Major athletic facility. But with the new century, the Lions were ready for a new home.
In 2002, the Lions traded in their old Pontiac for a new Ford Field.
Located in the heart of Detroit, Ford Field features massive skylights and large glass windows. The windows along the ceiling are frosted to mimic the automotive factories that are a staple in Michigan. The field itself is actually 45 feet below street level, a design meant to keep the stadium from sticking out within the downtown area. As for their past stadiums, Tiger Stadium was torn down in 2008. The Silverdome was imploded in 2017.
Sorry, y'all. I was there
ago. Lions games back in Tiger Stadium were great because the stadium really wasn't configured for football that much, so it had its own character.
The city of Pontiac had been making a pitch to build Detroit. Pressure, the first time that technology was used in a major athletic facility. But with the new century, the Lions were ready for a new home.
In 2002, the Lions traded in their old Pontiac for a new Ford Field.
Located in the heart of Detroit, Ford Field features massive skylights and large glass windows. The windows along the ceiling are frosted to mimic the automotive factories that are a staple in Michigan. The field itself is actually 45 feet below street level, a design meant to keep the stadium from sticking out within the downtown area. As for their past stadiums, Tiger Stadium was torn.
I was there when they tore this down, y'all, on the cool. I was visiting some family and stuff in Detroit, and shout out to them. But I remember this. Me and my dad, we wanted to see the new Tiger Stadium in Detroit and the old Tiger Stadium. So basically, Comerica Park first, then the old Tiger Stadium. And so they was tearing this down. So I do remember this.
Or down in 2008, the Silverdome was imploded in 2017 twice. The first attempt to blow it up didn't work, so they had to go back in a few days later, rewire it, and flip the switch again. Their second attempt clearly got the job done.
You know who releases their numbers this week. Everybody be cool.
Look out! 24 karat magic in the...
Exciting gifts arriving until December 24th at TJ Maxx. Maxx, what makes you, you.
Next up, Washington, who began as the Boston.
And I hope to God, Washington, D.C. needs to go back as the Redskins or become the Washington Braves, like they finished to tell us right now. You know what I'm saying? Or become the Red Tails. Commanders is not working. I'll be real with you. Commanders is not working. So hopefully, Washington, D.C., y'all can go back as the Redskins, the Red Tails, or become the Braves. Simple. Shoot, Washington Braves. That sounds good. You know what I'm saying? Let's dive on in.
Braves back in 1932 and played their first year at Braves Field, home of MLB's Boston Braves. A year later, they were still on a baseball field, but now it was historic Fenway Park. Their name changed to the Boston Redskins. Fenway was supposed to be the site of the 1936 title game, but owner George Marshall was so mad about the poor attendance that year, he had them play the game against the Packers at the Polo Grounds in New York.
30,000 football fans turned out for the 1936 NFL championship game at the Polo Grounds in New York.
No shock then, that was their last season at Fenway. And in Massachusetts, for that matter, the team was off to Washington, D.C. and Griffith Stadium. Griffith was the site of the craziest pair of title games in NFL history. 1940, Washington loses to Chicago by a record score of 73-0.
Woo! 73-0, y'all. Golly.
2 years later, same teams, Washington wins 14-6.
Sammy Baugh, wearing his famed number 33, takes his time, selects his receiver, and pitches 38 yards to Moore, who takes it over his shoulder and the goal.
As the 50s came to a close, though, Washington would settle into what was the first major sports complex built to accommodate both baseball and football.
Fans who flock to D.C. Stadium.
Yep, RFK Memorial Stadium. They're trying to get them back in there because it's still up.
Always enjoy the pregame and the halftime pageantry, highlighted by a space-age Santa Claus.
RFK Memorial Stadium was opened up with President John F. Kennedy in the stands. Now, at that time, the stadium was actually called District of Columbia Stadium, or DC Stadium. It wasn't renamed Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Stadium until 1969, as a way to honor the assassinated presidential candidate. As the 90s were coming to an end, owner Jack Kent Cooke completed a deal to move the team out of D.C., taking them to Landover, Maryland. Jack Kent Cooke Stadium, eventually renamed FedEx Field.
The final whistle has sounded in Robert F. Kennedy Stadium. The end of an era is a time not only for nostalgia, but for prophecy.
The place still has a marching band, which was the oldest in the league, formed back in 1937. There's the Hogettes, of course, the loyalist of loyal fans who... 1 year after Washington joined the league, they were followed by the Philadelphia Eagles, who named FedEx Field.
The final whistle has sounded in Robert F. Kennedy Stadium. The end of an era is a time not only for nostalgia, but for prophecy.
The place still has a marching band, which was the oldest in the league, formed back in 1937. There's the Hogettes, of course, the loyalist of loyal fans who dress up in dresses and pig faces, a tradition they started in the 80s as a nod to the team's offensive line.
The name got so big that restaurants would call us and say, we'll pick up the tab.
1 year after Washington joined the league, they were followed by the Philadelphia Eagles, who first played their games at the Baker Bowl. The Baker Bowl was yet another baseball field and was known by locals as the Cigar Box or sometimes the Bandbox. Now, in those early years, the Eagles also played some random home games at Temple Stadium, Point Stadium, Laidley Field, and War Memorial Stadium too. None, though, were permanent. But overall, they played 3 seasons at the Baker Bowl before making their next jump, which saw them land at Philadelphia Municipal Stadium. Municipal Stadium was eventually renamed JFK Stadium decades later. The Eagles were long gone by then, though. They only stuck around for 4 seasons. They needed more room, or more seats to be precise, so they moved into one of the most unique stadiums in NFL history, Shibe Park.
Some people just know they can save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check your spelling first before taking off your shirts.
Stew, Virginia.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Did you get the Duracell batteries?
What's it matter? Batteries are all the same. Incorrect. Only Duracell is built different with Power Boost ingredients inside. Power Boost ingredients are a unique blend of nickel and lithium. No other batteries have them. Power Boost.
Here we are out at Shibe Park, and we weren't kidding when we said that it was really snowing. It's almost game time, and off comes the huge tarpaulin. Even the players lend a hand.
1948, the Eagles win their first NFL title at Shibe in a blinding snowstorm. The structure itself, French Renaissance. No way most people would guess it was a sports complex from out front, but it was. The MLB played there as well as the Eagles, who stayed there for almost 20 seasons, though they went back to Municipal Stadium for the 1941 season. And in 1943, it was the Eagles who had to merge with the Steelers due to World War II roster impacts. They went by the Steagles, splitting their home games between Shibe Park and Forbes Field.
Just like
the Eagles stayed at Shibe, eventually renamed Connie Mack Stadium, until 1958. And from there, it was off to Franklin Field, another stadium Philly was crowned champion in.
Tommy McDonald got the Eagles on the board in the second quarter.
Scored a lot of touchdowns in the pros, but I think that will be the one that really will stick with me because I got it in there. I didn't let them down.
Their stay at Franklin lasted over 20 years and was the site of the famous Santa Getting Booed by the Fans episode. 1970 was the Eagles' final year at Franklin. Their new state-of-the-art facility was ready, the Vet. And spoiler alert, they don't win any titles there.
On September 26th, 1971, they came here for the Eagles' regular season debut in their new home.
Veterans Stadium was given its name to honor vets of all wars. It featured 7 levels, and it was its 700-level fans that were its most notorious.
These guys are crazy, man. They want to fight all the time. But I love it.
The place was legendary. It had Eagles Court. An actual judge was present at the stadium to deal with fans who were arrested on game days. And at one point, they had a mouse infestation that was so bad, they employed cats as mousers. Not a joke. The Eagles' occupancy of the vet lasted until 2002, making the move to the Link in 2003.
In a Monday night debut of their new stadium, the team from the city known for its fighting spirit called on a sacred South Philly icon for inspiration.
Sylvester Stallone, Rocky.
And actually, shout out to Sylvester Stallone. But actually, the Philadelphia Eagles, they kept up the Lincoln Stadium. They kept it up. Like literally, they kept it up. It's so modernized now. You think it's a brand new stadium. They kept that stadium up.
You think Philadelphia, you have to think Rocky. What an appropriate time to bring out Stallone.
What to know about Lincoln Financial Field? First, be very wary if you're going dressed in an opposing team's jersey. They may have won a Super Bowl, but that has not softened the Eagles faithful. More importantly, make sure you learn the words to the Eagles fight song, Fly, Eagles, Fly. The song was originally penned as Fight, Eagles, Fight, and it sort of fell by the wayside until the late 90s when an Eagles pep band played it in the parking lot of home games. The vet, by the way, met its demise in 2002 in a glorious 62 seconds. Crowds were everywhere as Philly slugger Greg Luzinski helped push the plunger. When it was all over, someone even played taps on a silver trumpet. Pennsylvania's other team came on the scene one season after the Eagles did. The Pittsburgh Steelers, setting up shop at Forbes Field in 1933 as the Pittsburgh
Steelers. This is my dad. Shout out to my dad, God rest his soul. This was his team.
Pirates for their first 7 years before.
And it's I think it's my uncle team as well. Yeah.
For changing to the Steelers.
Forbes Field is ready for football as the Pittsburgh fans flock to see their Steelers tackle the St. Louis Cardinals. Each team is looking for its second victory of the season.
Forbes Field was named after the street it was on, which was named after John Forbes, a British general of all things. The Steelers, unlike most other new teams, actually lasted in their first home stadium, playing there for over 30 seasons out of the gate. Again, the Steelers were part of 2 mergers in the 40s, playing some home games in 43 at Shibe Park as the Steagles, and some home games at Comiskey in 1944 as Card Pitt. They also played a few home games at the University of Pittsburgh, starting in 1958, which eventually became their next permanent home. They played there for 11 seasons. By 1970, though, the city's replacement for Forbes Field was ready. The Steelers were headed to Three Rivers Stadium.
The year before, Pittsburgh had won only 2 things, a football game and the right to the number 1 draft choice.
Three Rivers is where the Steelers dynasty was born, and it was the stadium where the Immaculate Reception happened.
Last chance for the Steelers, and his pass is broken up by Tatum. Tipped off! Franco Harris has it, and he's over.
Three Rivers also is where Steelers fans first broke out the Terrible Towel, debuting in 1975. But Three Rivers' time was up at the turn of the century. NFL teams were no longer content sharing venues with baseball teams, so they finally moved out on their own to Heinz Field.
The Steelers carried their championship tradition to a new home in 2001, Heinz Field.
We're in our house, and right now, no one's going to take it away from us.
Well, I feel just like a child. From my womb to my tomb, I guess I'll always be a child.
PlayStation. Lights are going up, snow is falling down. There's a feeling of goodwill around town. It could only mean one thing. Make ribbons here, ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
The first event ever held at Heinz Field, ironically nicknamed the Mustard Palace, was not a Steelers game. It was an NSYNC concert. But they didn't write Renegade, the Styx did. And you need to know that song because they play it every game and the fans love it. The other reason to pay attention to the scoreboard, anytime the Steelers score, touchdown, the giant ketchup bottles tip, a celebration ESPN deemed one of the top 10 in football. You also need to check out the Immaculate Reception Monument, as well as the Art Rooney statue located outside of Gate A. All of Pittsburgh's former parks are gone. Forbes Field was demolished back in 1971. Pitt Stadium fell by the wayside in 1999, and it was Three Rivers' turn to go in 2001. Talk about efficiency, too. It took just 19 seconds to reduce it to rubble. Okay, the Rams are up next, and they have given the Cardinals a run for their money as the NFL's Nomad Kings. They came onto the NFL scene in 1937 in Cleveland, splitting their home contest between Municipal Stadium and League Park. In 1938, they were still bouncing around.
Wow, so they started in Cleveland. That's crazy.
Still playing at League Park, but also playing two of their home games at Shaw Stadium. Shaw Stadium, built for high school games. Imagine an NFL team today using a high school stadium for its home games. Anyway, the Rams were back at Municipal Stadium 1 year later. They stuck there for 3 seasons, their second time through though, but then it was back to League Park. The Rams' stay at League Park was interrupted by World War II. The team suspended operations in 1943, but it culminated in 1945 with a league title.
King Winter takes over for the Pro Football Championship playoff at icy Cleveland Stadium. Cleveland's ace Bob Waterfield takes to the air, hits Jim Benton on the 12-yard line, and he goes over to give Cleveland an 8-7 lead as the crowd tries to keep from freezing.
So it was finally time to hang some pictures on the wall and get settled in, right? Wrong. Not only did they not stay at League Park, they didn't even stick around in Cleveland, bolting for the sunny skies of Los Angeles and LA Memorial Coliseum.
We started getting tremendous crowds. We would fill that Coliseum half the time, depending on the opponent.
It was newspaper talk, Hollywood Rams. They automatically associated it with Hollywood.
It was undeserving because that puts a connotation that you're kind of candy asses.
LA Coliseum is a National Historic Landmark, named in honor of LA veterans of World War I. It has that huge Olympic torch, which was added in 1930, specifically because it would host the Olympics in 1932. The Coliseum is also the site of the very first Super Bowl in 1967.
In the Los Angeles Coliseum, the Packers met the Kansas City Chiefs of the AFL with pro football's World Championship at stake.
The Rams' first stint at the Coliseum ran from 1946 to 1979, and then they were on the move once again, this time headed south to Anaheim Stadium.
And here we go. The first game played here in the Rams' new home. Drew Hill from his own 2-yard line to the 15. And breaking away. Murray missed him. He got away from Freedy. Touchdown! What a way to start the year.
The Rams played at the Big A until 1994. Then it was time to pack up and head back east, this time settling down in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, when the 1995 season was kicking off, the dome that was being built for the Rams wasn't ready, so they had to play their first game at Bush Memorial Stadium. But no worries, it was nothing more than a delay. The Rams were ready to open the Trans World Dome just a short time later.
If you build it, they will come. In record numbers. The team,
actually been in the stadium, y'all, on the cool.
Field, and the dream have come home to St. Louis. 65,598 fans came out to christen the new facility. Photo snatchers and frisbee catchers were all on hand to see the Carolina Panthers once again fall victim to the Rams.
The Trans World Dome has gone by a number of names over the years, so locals just refer to it as the Dome, or sometimes the Battle Dome. They played 21 seasons there before moving out and heading once again back to LA, returning to the Coliseum for 4 seasons while their new super high-tech home was being built.
And that right there, when they moved back, it was controversy. really, really controversy. But we understood.
SoFi Stadium.
Now we know what $5 billion can get you.
Wow. SoFi Stadium holds 70,000 plus fans with the ability to expand to 100,000 plus for larger events. The centerpiece, the stadium's 2.2 million pound ovular, double-sided 4K HDR video board that's suspended from the roof over the field. It also features a translucent ETFE roof, which in layman's terms means it's plastic. Okay, let's get back to Cleveland Municipal now, and we're not talking Rams ball anymore, we're talking Browns ball. The Browns started play in the NFL in 1950, but had been playing at Cleveland Municipal since 1946, when they were in the short-lived AAFC. They lasted there until 1995, the longest any team has played at one stadium from the start of their franchise's existence. This is also where the infamous Dog Pound was born. 1985 was the year cornerback Hanford Dixon started to refer to the defense as dogs, and along with fellow cornerback Frank Minifield, brought out a Dog Pound banner and hung it in front of the bleachers on the east side end zone.
And people always say the Cleveland Browns don't got no dang on logo. The dog is the logo. They just don't want to use it. NFL don't want to use the dog as the logo. And they also got this other logo, kind of like a leprechaun type of deal, or elf type of deal and stuff. Because they use that logo as well. But it's a lot of controversy with that logo. But other than that, that dog logo is actually Cleveland Browns real logo. It's just that it's like they don't use it like they should. They always use the helmet, which I don't get. Use the dog. But anyway, let's get back into it.
That was home to the cheap seats, and more importantly, some of the loudest fans at the stadium.
I'm going to say this. You can use the dog as your primary logo, but you don't have to put it on your helmet, basically. That's my take on it. You can still use the actual brown orange helmet with nothing on it, but as your primary logo, Cleveland Browns, use the dog with the construction cap that's made like your helmet, basically. Do that.
Fans started dressing up in all sorts of dog attire, even bringing dog food to the stadium.
They got some dogs out there, boy. Look at that big old number 98 over there. Now, that's a dog over there.
Hey, man! Fans in the section were so rowdy that in a 1989 game against the Broncos, the debris coming down from the Dog Pound was so bad, the referee made the teams switch sides, so the Broncos didn't have to try and score on that side of the field. However, that put the wind at the Browns' back, and you guessed it, the game came down to a field goal attempt by Browns kicker Matt Barr that barely cleared the crossbar.
The Browns have finally beaten the Broncos by 1 point.
I'm going to see you a few minutes and I'm going to enjoy this win. I tell you, this is great.
Tell them that, you tell them.
I'm going to see you enjoy this win, yeah.
The good times at Cleveland Municipal would come to an end, though, in 1995. The city of Cleveland, yet again, being ditched by its home team when Art Modell took them to Baltimore. The city was promised a new team by 1999, but it had to have a new stadium, so Cleveland Municipal was demolished. Though it didn't go quietly, the stadium caught fire during demolition. But on that exact same spot, First Energy Stadium would rise from the ashes, the Browns making their return to the NFL in 1999.
Rough news for retail sellers. Fulfillment centers are already full. But if they're running on SAP, then they can focus on the truly impossible task, their holiday seating chart. Now there's a delicate dance.
Hugo of Hair by Hugo believes every customer deserves the personal touch. I'm the Hartford Buck, and I believe Hugo's business does too.
With insurance designed for your small business, the Buck's got your back.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the 1999 Cleveland Browns.
The Dog Pound still resides on the east side of the stadium, though, and remnants of their old home are actually still close by. 15,000 tons of debris from the demolition of Cleveland Municipal were dumped into Lake Erie to create artificial reefs. As of 2019, though, it is the only stadium in the league not to host a playoff game of any kind. The Falcons, Lions, and Jets all had at least a Super Bowl played at their venues. The 49ers were another team that jumped from the AAFC to the NFL in 1950, and when they did, they were playing at Kezar Stadium. Kezar wasn't just home to the 49ers and eventually the Raiders, it was also home of the Scorpio Killer, the infamous villain from the movie Dirty Harry. Anyway, the 49ers played there for over 2 decades. When the 70s rolled around, the Niners were ready to move into a bigger and more accessible stadium, so they moved to Candlestick Park.
With new abilities over land came relative adjustments through the air. Wide receiver Gene Washington became a superstar. And in the new physical environment of Candlestick Park, he had his best day against the Patriots.
The stadium name, it was built on Candlestick Point, which in turn was named after candlestick birds that inhabited the area. It holds the distinction as the last place the Beatles would ever play a concert in 1966. In football terms, it was also where the 49ers dynasty came to life. They played 8 NFC championship games there, the first coming in 1981, and it featured what many say is the greatest play in NFL history.
Montana rolling out the right, looking toward the end zone, throwing under pressure, throws his pass. Caught by Clark. Clark got a touchdown. Dwight Clark has it. It's a touchdown for the 49ers.
While the 49ers played at Candlestick until 2014, they did play one home game at Stanford Stadium in 1989. The Loma Prieta earthquake forced the Niners to host the New England Patriots at the College Stadium. They did also play there for Super Bowl 19, though technically it wasn't their home stadium, but still, it's the only venue to date where the host region saw its team win.
Super Bowl 19 is in the record book. And Bill Walsh is being carried off of the shoulders of his players.
Move ahead to 2014, and it was time for the 49ers to do what all NFL teams were doing, move out on their own. So it was time to say hello to Levi's Stadium.
Tonight, the NFL comes to Silicon Valley as the San Francisco 49ers open their brand new home on Sunday Night Football.
Nicknamed Home of the Faithful, Levi's Stadium makes the 49ers the team that plays the furthest from the city they're identified by. It's located in Santa Clara, which is 40 miles from San Francisco. They've got the Catch statues that were unveiled following Dwight Clark's death in 2018. And then there's the rooftop farm. They actually grow 40 rotational crops on part of the roof, which are harvested for use in dishes served at the stadium. While Kezar Stadium was torn down and rebuilt, Candlestick was simply torn down. There was a plan at one point to implode it live during the Super Bowl in 2015, but eventually they decided to tear it down piece by piece. The Baltimore Colts joined the NFL in 1953 and spent their first 3 decades in the NFL playing at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland.
National Football League Championship on the line at Baltimore. Favorites are the hometown Colts, out to become the 4th team in league history to win 2 straight playoff titles.
Memorial Stadium was known by many names. It went by Baltimore Stadium, Venable Stadium. It was changed to Babe Ruth Stadium for a bit in the wake of Ruth's death, being he was a Baltimore native. And then there were the nicknames, the Old Gray Lady of 33rd Street, and maybe the greatest nickname any stadium has ever had, the world's largest outdoor insane asylum, a moniker earned due to how passionate, and some would say a little crazy, its fans were. It was also the site of one of the more bizarre accidents any NFL stadium has ever been a part of. The Colts had just finished losing to the Steelers in a playoff game in 1976 when a small plane tried to buzz the stadium.
What happened here today, sir? What happened?
Well, it's very difficult to say at this time.
Whoa! Luckily, the game was a blowout, so most fans were long gone when the plane crashed. Thankfully, there were no serious injuries. The pilot, of course, was arrested after the incident. The Colts played their final season at Memorial Stadium and Baltimore all together in 1983, heading to Indianapolis and the RCA Dome.
In the heart of downtown Indianapolis lies a new symbol of the city's dynamic growth. It is.
Yeah, we heard about the RCA Dome. We already know. Same thing with the Silver Dome. Same situation. Same situation.
The Hoosier Dome.
Originally named the Hoosier Dome, it was yet another one of those stadiums with one of those air-pressured roofs. The RCA Dome also had a reputation for being one of the loudest stadiums in the game.
These 57,000 people, they got into it late in the game. They helped this defense.
Tom Brady and company were a little unsure if all that noise, though, was really coming from the fans. Even today, Brady still has some doubts. He recently got asked about the noise they pump into his practices.
I thought it was one of the Colts old tapes that when they used to pump all that sound in the RCA Dome. So
the league did investigate whether the Colts fan noise was being aided by their sound system, and they were cleared of any wrongdoing.
That was a joke, everybody. Just want to make that clear.
The Colts' run at the Dome ran until 2008. Their new dig's Lucas Oil Stadium.
This is the NFL's newest venue, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, where 63,000 fans are ready for Peyton Manning.
And Lucas Oil is a nice stadium, y'all.
And the Colts.
Lucas Oil has a retractable roof, a red brick exterior, and a massive window wall. The place is beautiful. They moved the 2006 Lombardi Trophy they won around the stadium each week. And of course, they honored the guy that helped bring it to them with a statue out front of the stadium. And right before every game, someone pounds an anvil to kick things off. As to their former residences, both were reduced to rubble, Memorial Stadium being torn down in 2001 and the RCA Dome meeting its demise via implosion in 2008.
All right. So I'm going to end the video right there, y'all. But yeah, if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe for part 2. And also, we're probably going to have to do a part 3 to this video. But yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe down below if you like the video. But yeah, it was a lot of educational things about the NFL and their stadiums. But yeah, a lot of stuff I didn't even know on the cool. But yeah, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch y'all later, y'all. Deuces.